Hello, welcome to Business Week, the program that brings you top business stories that made the headlines during the course of this week, including special news features, market data, interviews, and much more. Welcome to the show. Well, here's the highlight of the biggest stories we tracked for you over the course of this week. On the local front, the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation has announced a trading surplus of 43.57 billion naira in April this year, representing a 23.64% increase over the 35.24 billion naira surplus it recorded in the previous month of March. The landing cost of petrol imported into the country has also increased to a new high of 249 naira 42 kobo per litre on the back of high global crude oil prices. The African Development Bank is also set to support medium, small and micro enterprises in the technological space with a sum of $500 million. In other international reports now, ExxonMobil Corporation has begun marketing its shale gas properties as it ramps up a long-stalled program that aims to raise billions of dollars to shed unwanted assets and also reduce debt taken from last year. Saudi Aramco has also begun scouting for other potential deals to offer to investors and unlock capital after the oil giant in June closed a $12.4 billion deal for its crude pipeline network. Well, it's now time to bring you our special package by our correspondent today. Now, in this report, the Standards Organization of Nigeria wants more seamless connectivity between portals of ports, regulatory agencies to enable easy tracking of goods coming into the country. The Director General of the Standards Agency made the call during an exclusive chat with TVC News correspondent Ifanaya Eze.
By law, the Constitution, the 2015 Act, gave us that responsibility to protect the country. And right now, unfortunately, we have one of our arms tied in the back. So we're just fighting with only one arm.
The Director General of the Standards Organization of Nigeria, Farouk Salim, stating his position with current port procedures that are not helping efforts in battling the influx of substandard goods into the country. He says that not being able to completely access the portals of other relevant agencies to enable the effective tracking of Nigerian bound cargoes, among other limitations placed on it, is a constant frustration. More so when more than 80% of products in the country are imported through the seaports, while officials of the Standards Agency only get to do examination of cargoes on invitation.
You need full cooperation of sister agencies. You need full access to the products coming in. And then we need to be physically on the ground, not only allowed once in a while to come in and look at it. We need to be physically there. That way we can be able to tell and choose which containers to check. We already have a big warehouse right outside the port where most of the products that we have suspicion could be housed there. So we are not going to create bottleneck at the ports, because the biggest issue that people have was because the ease of doing business. We don't want to keep people's products on the port for no reason. So to make us efficient to the point where 70% of the products are checked.
On the issue of strengthening the country's export potential, he explains that the agency recently reviewed the standard certification process and is doing more to build confidence in Nigerian-made products.
Now, you'll be able to track down the certificates physically on our website, because what we intend to do is every certificate has a special number, marker on it. So anybody, every average person on the street can actually take that number very soon and put the number in our website, and it will come up with the name of the product, when it was approved, where it was made, when it's going to expire, when is the best time to use it.
The Director General also says that it is collaborating with several state governments to boost the growth of micro, small and medium enterprises across the country.
And now with that report, we delve into the feature of the show today, looking at analysis of the fundamentals fueling the spike in the cost of cooking gas. We have details of this and much more coming up shortly. Many thanks for still staying with us. Let's now deal with the crux of today's discourse as consumers and marketers of liquefied petroleum gas, commonly known as cooking gas, groan over the continuous rise in the price of the product, largely caused by insufficient in-country supply, high importation cost and multiple levies by agencies. The reaction of the populace so far solicits why there have been more talks and little action from the federal government to address this challenge. The price of cooking gas has maintained its upward trend since December last year, with the product now selling for 6,000 naira at least for a 12.5 kg refill in some places in Nigeria. Now, this has left so many consumers groaning over the ugly situation, and in Lagos, the nation's commercial hub, the situation is even much more heightened. The continuous hike in the price of the product has been linked to multiple factors, including low supply of the product from the Nigeria liquefied natural gas, scarcity and high cost of foreign exchange for importation, and the multiple administrative levies charged marketers by some agencies of government. These costs are transferred to the consumers as the marketers have to factor in all they have spent to bring in the product and all they have also spent on charges locally. Well, joining me now to discuss this and much more, I have Basi Yasin, the Executive Secretary, Nigerian Association of Liquefied Petroleum Gas Marketers. Good to have you on the show today.
You're welcome.
First and foremost, now Nigeria remains one of the largest producers of gas in Africa and a major supplier to the world, but the country's proven gas reserve stands at 203 trillion cubic feet of gas as we speak, generated this year. But the harsh reality remains that despite this huge resource base, we have continuous spike in the cost of cooking gas. How worrying is this for you, and how can we possibly bring down the prices?
It's worrisome because, like you said, Nigeria is endowed with the abundance of the natural resources. And whether there has been a blessing, is turning out to be a disadvantage in the sense that the government has done so much to get people to convert to the use of cooking gas as the best cooking energy compared to charcoal and firewood and kerosene. And we have keyed into this. But suddenly, now the problem is issue of availability. This product is not consistently available. And if there is inconsistent in availability, you find that the demand outstrips the supply. And when there are more people pursuing for the same product, there's bound to be price increases, one way or the other. The LNG, which has been that useful in taking care of the domestic supply, over the years has been giving into the market 350,000 metric tons per annum. Currently, this year, effective January, they increased to 450,000 metric tons. But as of December last year, where consumption had gone over 1 million metric tons. So if domestically we are accounting for 350 to 450, the difference has to come from somewhere, and this comes from importation. We're importing products that is fully processed and finished in Nigeria here. Now, the foreign exchange is not to the advantage of the importers because of the weak naira. The product itself, even the ones bought here locally, is still priced in international pricing denominated in dollars. So all this put together adds to the inconsistent prices. Now, what we're looking at, because if you're looking at the total contribution to the system, the domestic market accounts for 35% of LPG, while the imported accounts for 65%. So you can imagine what it translates into. If the government has a window to source forex for most of those importers, probably it will go a long way to ease the problem with which they have to go through to source forex. Now, but why should we even benchmark product which we have domestically here against international market pricing templates? So these are all the issues there. Right now, because what the quota the LNG supplies is not enough to go around everybody, there is that gap. And that gap accounts for whatever the variance we have in prices. Of course, you know it. When there are too many people looking for a particular a commodity that's in short supply, you know what it entails. So right now we are looking at the government. First of all, LNG should increase its domestic allocation to the local market. There are other companies that are producing into the production of cooking gas. The government should make it as a policy. They should domicile all their production in the country before exporting. Satisfy the local demand first of all before you export. If all the molecules of LPG produced in Nigeria is fully domesticated in the market here, definitely there will be constant availability of gas. And when there's constant availability of gas, there will be price stability because it will work out itself. When there is no scarcity, there will be price stability. Then, yes.
Now, how can the availability of cooking gas be sustained if this is one of the major contributing elements to the fluctuation in the product price?
That's what I'm talking about. The government needs to come up with a policy of encouraging the LNG to increase its allocation into the domestic market. All other producers of LPG domestically should domicile their quota into the country rather than export them. Now, gas is the only petroleum product that is fully processed and refined in this country before it's exported, unlike PMS. So, which means it is a fully processed product we're exporting. So, why don't we make it such that the same product can be available here? If possible, let the government make sure that LNG delivers the products to all the terminals in Nigeria. Because the fact is that because of the LNG quota that comes to the country, whichever terminal gets it, they now want to benchmark the price against the imported price. And of course, the price keeps going on. So what we're saying is government should look for a way of ensuring that all the molecules of LPG produced in this country, first of all, satisfy the local demands before you give priority to exports.
Nigeria currently consumes about 1.2 million metric tons of cooking gas, and only about 350,000 metric tons is being supplied to the local market by the NLNG, while the largest shortfall is met through importation. The federal government commissioned the gas facility in Olugbo in Edo State. Now, it is expected that this will contribute immensely to gas availability in the country and reduce the purchasing cost. But the more pertinent angle to this is, what is the impact of this project versus the volume of gas produced in the domestic market?
Yes, when Olugbo came on stream, we were all happy because at the commission of Olugbo, I think that was in January 2021, it was stated that it's going to contribute about 40% to the domestic market. So we now say, okay, fine, if Olugbo is going to contribute 40%, then added to what LNG is contributing, then at least that will go a long way to meet a sizable portion of the demand. The other one that's left, if we can get the other companies that are producing gas to contribute as well, then the dependence on importation would have been reduced. But as it is today, first of all, when Olugbo came on stream, allocation of gas in Olugbo was actually in such a way that most of the people that had the allocation don't even own gas plants. They don't own gas plants. So rather than allocate, conduct allocation strictly to people that are into gas plant business, gas bottling plants, they are now giving this thing to our call maybe portfolio investors. And they will now turn around and hawk the same allocation at a very expensive price to plant owners. Then when Olugbo came on stream, they said Olugbo will be producing about 17 trucks daily. 17 trucks daily. But as we speak today, Olugbo has not even done up to 18 trucks monthly. Not even 18 trucks monthly. They will tell you one story, there's a problem there, they're trying to fix one thing or the other. So even the desired quantity it was supposed to contribute to into the domestic market, it has not been, it is not forthcoming. So that one is an aspect. Now to come and even compound issues that even the imported ones we are saying, okay, now should cushion the difference. Government just suddenly woke up and reintroduced 7.5% VAT on imported LPG. Because some say they want to discourage imports. You don't discourage something you don't have. If we had local supply in abundance here, nobody will support importation. But we don't have. We don't have. And the imported quantity that has been taking care of domestic supply, you have now turned around to impose VAT on it. And as it is, at the bottom line of it is that the VAT, the value of that VAT put in there will actually be translated to the consumer. Somebody just told us, oh, there's one of these terminals, they've been slapped with a total VAT charge of about 4 billion. They said it's even backdated to several months back. So if somebody has to pay 4 billion on VAT on LPG, it has to be passed somewhere. And where does it go to? It passes down to the consumers. So you can now see the dilemma where the issue of the VAT was totally uncalled for. Not at this time where you cannot even meet the local demands and you are now suffocating the people again. So government, first of all, should look into that issue of the VAT and remove it. It has been removed before and even gazetted. So I wouldn't know what was the argument that would have been so terrible to have brought it back when locally you can't even meet the demand of cooking gas in the country, and you have come to tell people that they should convert to gas. A lot of them have done that. Suddenly it's getting out of their affordability of an average household.
Now, Mr. Bassi, you also made mention of the fact that your association has clearly kicked against the reintroduction of cooking gas VAT. Now, at the end of the day, we had this same policy also suspended for a while. To what extent do you think this also tilts the balance with policy somersaults? We start, we stop, and we don't necessarily have the clearest of agenda when it comes to setting up policies for key sectors like the oil and gas sector?
Well, that is one key advocacy, because this policy somersault does not help anybody. The government came up with the Nigerian gas expansion program, not even program, because I mean not only cooking gas, but how to use gas as a catalyst for industrial development in Nigeria, and using gas for power generation, industrial running the industries, and in other facets. They've gone around, they've done so much awareness, moving from state to state, not even use them in automobiles. And all these things catching up. Then suddenly, you now turn around and introduce VAT. Are you saying that this thing should actually be affordable to the people or not? Because it does not make sense. One moment, you are opening the space for everybody to contribute their own quota. At the next moment, you are stifling the playing ground. So this is what problem we have. Government should be consistent in its policies, or else it's not going to help anybody.
And now, just last December, the government launched its National Gas Expansion Program, a vehicle it wants to use to enhance local gas supply and utilization, with LPG as one of the key items on the plate. But with 8 months already gone since the launch of this plan, many Nigerians are still wondering, when will the result of such a program become visible and felt by the people? Your thoughts?
Well, I wouldn't speak hope for them, but I know they are very enthusiastic about the gas expansion program. Workshops have been held in states. We've attended a couple of workshops organized by the coordinators of the program in some states, because there it's not only in terms of cooking gas, but using gas to power the economy. Using gas in vehicles, generators, running the industries, and at this stage there are some vehicle conversion centers where they convert the components of these vehicles so that they'll be able to run on gas. You know? So it's catching up, but what we're saying is that by the time this same this same program you are bringing up and people are keying into it. If I now convert my car to use gas and suddenly I can't afford the gas anymore, I can't even see it to buy. So what have you achieved? Nothing. That is the problem there.
And away from all of this conversation about bringing down the price of gas, let's now look at the oversight function of the DPR in checkmating inappropriate siting of gas facilities and then the revocation of licenses of those involved in short practices.
Yeah, well, DPR we know is a regulatory agency in charge of the oil and gas sector. Yes, it has policies and has regulations on the siting of gas plants. And it's being followed rigidly. But unfortunately, there are some of these plants that come up without even DPR approvals. And what's happened there is that when DPR is aware of this, they seal up such places because they don't have operational license. You can only operate a gas plant when you have a DPR duly licensed facility. And there are processes to go through. Before you even get to DPR level, you must have gone through the approval processes existing in the states. Each state government has its own approval processes, which you must scale through before you get go to DPR and get a license. So all these things are to streamline the operation of gas plants. And we as an association, what we do is that when we come across some of these things that are illegal, we draw the attention of DPR because we cannot penalize them for anything, but we draw the attention of DPR to it. And to the best of their ability, once that comes to their knowledge, they work against it. They make sure such places are not allowed to operate. They are sealed up. And for you to follow the due process and get your papers properly put in place before you can operate.
Thank you very much for your time on the show today. It's been a pleasure speaking with you.
Thank you, David. Thank you so much.
But just before we go now, here are graphic details of the company's income tax for the second quarter of this year as prepared by the National Bureau of Statistics. That's it on this edition of Business Week. Many thanks for watching so far. Do enjoy the rest of your weekend. I'm David Alabi. Bye for now.